Lillahi ta'ala, correct your intentions, barakallahu fikum. Alright, so we're just about to start a new metin. Yani, we're not going to go over Qatrun Nada. We're not going to complete Qatrun Nada for now. Inshallah, we're going to take a step back and we're going to start going over Al-Aajurroomiyyah. That's the beginner's text in Nahu grammar. Now, is this what you need in your quest to learn Arabic language and to get more religious knowledge? Is Al-Aajurroomiyyah what you need, or should you start somewhere else? Now, of course, that's a question that anyone might be asking himself, and I don't know everybody's level. It could be what you need. Now, for sure, if you can't read a lick of Arabic, even read. I'm not talking about understand, just read. If you can't read a lick of Arabic, if you don't know the letters and you can't put them together, then it might be challenging for you. But even then, I'm going to try my best to make it clear. If you know some English grammar, then that helps also, because then you can compare things. At least you can understand some concepts. Or grammar from another language. Maybe you know Spanish grammar, or maybe you know grammar of another language. Then that's going to be helpful for you, so you can just compare concepts. But it's not equal back and forth the same thing. Arabic stands on its own. It's comparable, but it's not equal. And if you can read Arabic and you don't understand Arabic, then this might help you. Now, we're not going to start the text just yet. We still have introduction to complete. And this is the second part of the introduction. We'll probably finish this introduction, and then probably we'll start the text, the actual text, the actual classical work next week, inshallah ta'ala. So, without further ado, I'm just going to read here, and if you have any questions, feel free, please. And I shared the text, the PDF. I shared the PDF in the group, so you can get the PDF right there if you want it for yourself. And so the author says, and the author here is whoever worked in putting this introduction together, this preface, whoever worked in putting this preface into the publication, which is very beneficial preface here. May Allah have mercy on that one. Ameen. So this author says, هنا بيان في تعريف بعض المصطلحات النحوية. Here is a clarification, that is a presentation, and even a review if you have taken some information already, in defining some grammatical terms. So the field we're studying is called Nahu, Nun Ha Wow, Nahu. Nahu means syntax. Syntax means the science of how the words relate to each other in a sentence. And a lot of people just say grammar. Grammar, though, really is broader than syntax. Grammar is like all of what's correct in language, different fields. How you speak, how you write. All of that's grammar. Like grammar includes, for example, in English, punctuation. Punctuation is writing. So syntax is how words interact with each other in a sentence. That's what Nahu is. This is the most important science of Arabic language. But it's not the simplest. It's not the simplest and most basic science of Arabic language, but it is the most important one. So here is a clarification about the definitions of some, but I'm going to use the word grammar sometimes. So I'm saying right here, grammatical terminologies. لِيَتَصَوَّرَهَا طَالِبُ الْعِلْمِ, so that the student of knowledge can conceive them. So that the student of knowledge has a conception of them. قبل البدء بقراءة الشرح, before starting with reading the explanation. Yani, before we get to the actual text. فنقول, and so we therefore say, starting with the first terminology here, al-fa'il, doer. Al-fa'il, doer. Now also here I'm going to introduce you to some of the translations we're going to use for these words. So the word fa'il by itself, linguistically, it means, fa'il means doer. And sometimes we're going to say here, verbal subject. Verbal subject. What's a subject? The subject of a sentence. Subject of a sentence, inshallah, you know what that means. The subject of a sentence, what the sentence is about. In simple words, in simple words I'm talking. The subject of the sentence is what the sentence is about. But Arabic has two types of sentences: verbal sentences and nominal sentences. Verbal sentence means sentence that starts with a verb. Nominal sentence means sentence that starts with a noun. So since Arabic has two types of sentences, Arabic therefore has two types of subjects. What we would in English call a subject. English only has one type of sentence, which is basically a verbal sentence. Proper English, that is. Arabic has two types of sentences, verbal and nominal sentences. So a verbal sentence has a verbal subject, and a nominal sentence has a nominal subject. It has a different name that we'll see when we come to it. So the subject of a verbal sentence is called fa'il, doer. Fa'il man qama bihi al-fi'l. So fa'il is the one by whom an act exists, or the one, if you want, through whom an act exists. An act exists. Act here, because we're talking grammar here, act means verb. So even for the word verb, sometimes we're going to say doing. Sometimes we're going to use the word doing for the word verb. Or action. The word action is going to mean verb. Sometimes. So a fa'il, a doer, is the one through whom or by whom an act or doing exists. Or in simple words, the fa'il is the doer of the verb. The fa'il is the doer of the verb. وَلَا يَكُونُ إِلَّا مَرْفُوعًا. And it would not be but marfu', that means nominative. I might have spelled that wrong right there. Or, here, let me actually switch the color there so it doesn't get mixed up. Marfu'an, that means nominative. I might be spelling it wrong. Nominative. You can look it up, make sure it's spelled right. Or you can use another word, subjective. Well, what does this mean? So, in grammar, A sentence has basically slots that need to be filled. A sentence, it has a function. A sentence has a function, which is to convey a meaning. And in order for the sentence to do what it's for, to fulfill its function, to do its job, it has slots. So one slot in a sentence is for the subject. One slot in a sentence is for the subject. One slot in a sentence is for the direct object. Direct object, that's what receives the verb. All this is going to come clear if you stay till the end of the lesson, inshallah. Yeah, I'm sure some of you are going to drop out. That's usually what happens in any lesson. It doesn't have to be grammar only. But I hope you all stay. One of the slots that a sentence has is for the object of the preposition. The object of the preposition. All this will come clear, inshallah, if you don't know what it means. So, now I'm using English words for you. I said the subject, the direct object, the object of the preposition. I said nominative or subjective. So all those have, of course, Arabic names. If you want to be successful in Nahu, you have to know what those Arabic names are. And you're learning them now. So the fa'il is basically the doer of a verb. And the fa'il in an Arabic sentence has a judgment. Its judgment is that it's always marfu' in a state of rafa'. That means always nominative or subjective. Thing about English, though, is that it doesn't have signs to tell you what role the word is playing in the sentence. It doesn't have signs to show you what role the word is playing in the sentence, except pronouns. Not that the pronouns have signs, but they just change. So, for example, let me give you an English sentence here. If we said, here, Sam hit Fred. You know who's the doer and you know who's the receiver, if you understand English. You know who's the doer, you know who's the receiver. Even if you don't know grammatical terms, when I say this to you, you know who's the doer, you know who's the receiver, you know what I'm saying without you knowing grammar terminologies. Who's the doer here? Sam. Because doer is going to be the hitter. Doer basically is the verb. The doing is the verb. The action is the verb. The doer or the actor here is Sam. And the receiver is Fred. What makes us know here that Sam is the doer and that Fred is the receiver? There's no sign here in the English sentence. Rather, the English sentence has sequence. The sequence. Because if I reverse this and I say, Fred hit Sam. Now, in this second sentence, the one who was the receiver in the first sentence is now the doer in the second sentence. And the one who was the doer in the first sentence is the receiver here in the second sentence. How do we know? Because in English, we're going to rely on the sequence of the words to make us know the order of the words. But in Arabic, you don't need the sequence of the words so much. Rather, Arabic has signs. These signs will enable you to take a sentence out of its original sequence. Arabic language will enable you to shift words all around and jumble them all around because you're going to be able to know who's the doer and who's the receiver, not by the sequence, but by signs. So to give you an idea, So if I were to put a dhamma on this word Sam, and if I were to put a fatha on this word Fred, now if that dhamma is the sign that Sam is the doer and not the fact that he's in the front, and if the fatha is the sign that Fred is the receiver, not the fact that it's in the back, then I can switch that all around. Yani, if Sam keeps his dhamma in the second sentence and Fred keeps his fatha in the second sentence, then you know Sam's still the doer in the second sentence. You know that Sam is still the doer in the second sentence. It's first sentence, here's second sentence. But English doesn't work that way. Arabic does. So, this slot that Sam is in this English sentence, it's what's in English called case. The case of Sam is that it's nominative or subjective. In the case of Fred, in English terms, is that it's accusative. Accusative. But even in English grammar, when you learn grammar and you learn English in school, even at a college level, they barely even teach this anymore. Used to. This used to be common knowledge in English. That's why writers were way better. If you want to study good English, read older books. They're stronger. Now people, they write and they don't even know grammar. Okay, so Sam here in this sentence, its case is that it's nominative. Why? Because it's the subject. So the meaning of what we read in Arabic here, al-fa'ilu man qama bihi al-fi'l wa la yakunu illa marfu'an. The fa'il would only be marfu'. This means the fa'il is only subjective or nominative. So you're going to learn the signs. When you learn Nahu, you're going to learn the signs to tell which one is... How do you know it's nominative? What's the sign for nominative? Well, I just showed you a dhamma in an example. That's just one sign. And then Nahwu, for example. Nahwu, for example. Qama Zayd. Nahwu qama Zayd. For example, qama Zayd. So qama means stood. Zayd is a man's name. So this sentence means Zayd stood. Qama Zayd. Now, some of you are listening to this lesson wondering, is this for me? If you and maybe some of you are listening to this lesson saying, yeah, I want to benefit here. I want to improve my Arabic. And I'm telling you right now, if you're not writing down the definitions of words, you're probably going to give up because you're like, I don't understand. You have to put effort here. You have to put effort here. Don't expect for it to just come to you. Maybe it will if Allah blesses you. Rather, expect that it's not going to come to you unless you try. When I took my first Nahu lesson, when I studied overseas in Lebanon, my very first Nahu lesson, I was so excited because I knew English grammar. So it's like, wow, I'm going to get to see how's the Arabic grammar. Okay, we took the lesson. It was very nice. I loved everything. Then it was time for the test. After some days, we had our first test. And I said to myself, this test right here, I have to study for it. If I don't study for this test right here and pass this test right here, I am going to fail this entire course. That's what, and I don't know the unseen, of course, but that's what I felt in my heart. If I don't pass this right here, I'm going to fail the entire course. I have months ahead of me. I have months ahead of me. This is my first test. If I fail this one, khalas. So Allah inspired me and enabled me to study well, and I passed, alhamdulillah, and that was encouraging for me. So I'm saying all of that to say to you, you need to put the effort if you want to be successful in this. So you need to be writing down definitions for everything. If there's any word I'm reading and you don't know what it means and you want to know what it means, ask. No problem. So, Qama Zaydun. So let's look at this sentence right here. Qama. We're going to break this sentence down. We're going to parse this sentence. We're going to do the i'rab for this sentence. We're going to parse this sentence, which basically means we're going to break this sentence down. Qama. Fi'lun ma'udin. This is a past tense verb. Mabniyun ala fath. It's built with a fatha on the end of it. Built here means that fatha is not going to go anywhere. It's going to stay like that all the time. It doesn't, ending here doesn't change. Past tense verb is built like that. Zaydun, fa'il. Zayd is fa'il, doer of this verb. Marfu', it's nominative. Yani that's its case. That's its position in the sentence. Wa alamatu raf'ihi, and the sign of its being nominative, it's the sign of its rafa'. Dhamma is a dhamma. That's it. Qama Zaydun. So I can't say here Qama Zaydan with a fatha. Doesn't even make sense. I can't say here Qama Zaydin with a kasra. Makes no sense at all. Doesn't even make any sense. Even though same word. Just changing the vowel makes it like unintelligible. Doesn't make any sense. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask. Like maybe you're saying, that's it? Don't have more? It's not more detail? It's not more complicated? It's not. It's just now it's going to be a matter of, like, especially if you're just starting. Some of you we've been studying together for a while, so it's okay for you. It's just going to be a matter of you getting over the vocabulary, getting used to the vocabulary so that you can follow. Especially if you don't know grammar in your own language. Okay. Moving on to the next one. Unless you have a question. The author says here, wal maf'ul, and the maf'ul. Maf'ul, the word itself means done. That's an adjective. It's a noun, not a verb. Done. But I'm going to use the word receiver more. Receiver basically means direct object. Direct object. I'm going to say receiver more than I say direct object, though. It was direct object. Man waqa'a alayhi al-fi'l. The maf'ul is the one that the act fell upon. The one that the act fell upon. So it's direct object. The receiver of the verb, receiver of the action. وَلَا يَكُونُ إِلَّا مَنْصُوبًا. And it won't be except what? Accusative. Accusative. Mansub in the state of nasb. Nahwu darabtu Zayda, such as darabtu Zayda. Let's parse this sentence. Let's do the i'rab for this sentence. Darabtu Zaydan. So here. Daraba He hit. So daraba means, or let me say instead of hit, struck. Struck, meaning hit. That's past tense verb. فعل ماض, past tense verb. مبني على فتح مقدر. It's built with the fatha on the end of it. But the fatha doesn't show up for a reason. منع من ظهوره كراهية توالي أربع متحركات فيما هو كالكلمة الواحدة. So there would be a fatha here. You'd say ضرب, but because the Arabs don't want to put 4 harakas in a row in this case, I don't want to say too many words, make it confusing for you. They just switch that fatha out, and just in their hearts it's still there because it's a past tense verb. ضرب. Past tense verb ends with fatha always. Past tense verb ends with fatha always. Past tense verb ends with fatha always. Even if the fatha disappeared for some reason, you just need to know why it disappeared. In this case, they don't want to have 4 harakas in a row for a reason. Okay, so darab is a past tense verb. It's daraba. He struck. Daraba. 2 here. 2. والتاء ضمير متصل مبني على الضم. It is a connected pronoun, a connected or a suffixed pronoun. It means I. So darabtu means I struck, I hit in the past. It is a suffixed pronoun. Mabniyun ala dhamm. It's built with a dhamm. That means this dhamma for this pronoun never goes anywhere. Stays like that. Doesn't change to a fatha or a kasra. Stays just like that. Darabtu. If you have a question, you can ask. Zaydan. And Zayd is a man's name. Zayd is a man's name. Darabtu Zaydan. So the sentence means, I struck Zayd. Zaydan maf'ulun bihi is a direct object or receiver. Mansub, accusative, because it's a direct object, so it needs the proper sign, so you know that it's receiver of the verb. وَعَلَامَةُ نَصْبِهِ فَتْحَةٌ. Its sign of nasb is a fatha. So same name up here. Look, up in this example here, Qama Zaydun. Zayd, but it has a dhamma. Here, Darabtu Zaydan. Zayd, but it has fatha. Zayd is Zayd. It's the same Zayd, which is a man's name. Why one had a dhamma and one had a fatha? Because in each case, in each sentence, it's doing something different in the sentence. In one sentence, it's the doer of the verb, and in the other sentence, it's the receiver of the verb. So it needs the appropriate sign so that you know what it's doing in the sentence. So that you know the role it's playing in the sentence. And that's it. Yeah, if you have a question, ask please. Now I'm seeing the time is passing so fast, I'm thinking we're not going to finish this introduction this week. I thought we would. I'm just trying my best to make this as clear as I can for those of you who are just starting. And while I'm doing that, I'm walking on eggshells because I don't want any of you to give up and don't come back. So I'm trying to be so clear and interesting. طيب. Now the next one. He says, وَالنَّائِبُ الْفَاعِلِ وَالنَّائِبُ الْفَاعِلِ. But it is possible that some of you need other more basic knowledge before this, so this is not appropriate for you. I mean, wafiq. وَنَائِبُ الْفَاعِلِ. Okay, This word na'ib means basically replacement. Replacement. It's like vice. Like, you know how you say vice president? So not the original president, but the one who's going to replace the president if the president isn't there. That's the vice president. So this is na'ibul fa'il. So we learned what's the fa'il. There's something called na'ib fa'il, the vice doer or replacement doer. Or maybe there's even better way to translate it. What's this? هو المفعول الذي أقيم مقام الفاعل بعد حذفه. This is the receiver. This vice doer is a receiver, actually. Not really a doer, it's a receiver. The receiver that takes the place of the doer. It's the receiver that takes the place of the doer after omitting the doer. After omitting the doer. In English, what they call that is passive voice. Passive voice. So you say in English, for example, Zaid was hit. Zaid was hit. So if I ask you, what's the subject of this sentence? You're going to tell me Zaid. Zaid is the subject of the sentence. And if I ask you, who's the receiver of the verb? You're going to tell me Zaid is the receiver of the verb. So then if I ask you, how can he be the subject of the sentence and be the receiver of the verb at the same time? Then you might say, I don't know. So there's a way to do that, and you do it all the time. You just, if you don't know grammar, you don't know you do it. But when you know grammar, then you can harness that power. Knowing grammar, even in your own language, knowing grammar is like having some power that you can harness, and then you use it like you want to use it. You wield it the way you want to wield it. You don't know grammar, then you're just gonna talk as a commoner, and you're just gonna write as a commoner. So he says the na'ib fa'il, this replacement doer, is the receiver that takes the place of the doer after omitting the doer. Because Zaid was hit. Who hit him? It's not mentioned here. Who hit him? His striker is unmentioned. All that's mentioned here is the struck one and the doing, which is the strike itself, the hit. And the striker is removed. وَلَا يَكُونُ إِلَّا مَرْفُوعًا. And this one also will only be nominative because it's replacing the doer. And the doer is nominative. It's not going to be accusative, mansoob, even though it's a receiver. Really, it's a receiver, and the receiver is supposed to be mansoob. It's not going to be mansoob here because we remove the doer and put the receiver in its place. So we have to give him we have to give the receiver the doer's sign. If you have a question, ask please. Nahwu, for example, ضُرِبَ زَيْدٌ وَيُضْرَبُ عَمْرٌ. So two examples were given here. ضُرِبَ زَيْدٌ. Let's parse this sentence. Let's do the i'rab for this sentence. ضُرِبَ زَيْدٌ. So ضُرِبَ here. ضُرِبَ, you say فِعْلٌ مَاضٍ. It's a past tense verb. There's your fatha at the end. It's a past tense verb. Mabniyun lil maf'ul. But it has been configurated. A past tense verb that has been mabni here means configurated lil maf'ul. It has been configurated for the receiver. Because the original way you say the verb is daraba. Daraba. He struck. And then you're gonna, for example, say daraba Zaydun. Zayd struck. He's the striker. But so yani daraba Zaydun Amran. Let's say daraba Amrun Zaydan. Daraba Amrun Zaydan. Amr struck Zayd. Okay. But if we want to remove Amr, the striker, and just keep Zayd, the struck, Zaydan. ضرب عمرو زيدا. Can I zoom out? Let me see what my screen looks like. No, I can't zoom out because I want you to see what I zoomed in on. Duriba. I zoomed in on Duriba so you can see it, so I can talk about it for you. Duriba. How do we parse this? How do we break this down? What's going on here? Duriba, how we say mabniyun lil maf'ul. This is a fi'lun madin mabniyun lil maf'ul. It's a past tense verb that has been configured not for the doer but for the receiver. We want to remove the doer and put the receiver in the place of the doer. In order for us to remove the doer and put the receiver in its place, we need to reconfigure the verb. So instead of saying daraba, we're going to say duriba. Now it's reconfigured. Mabniyun lil maf'ul, reconfigured for the receiver. Now we can put the receiver in the doer's place. Zaydun, duriba Zaydun, Zayd. So the meaning is Zayd was struck. So we say here Zaydun Na'ib fa'il. Zayd is replacement doer or vice doer. Marfu' in a state of rafa'. Wa alamatu raf'ihi dhamma, and its sign of rafa' is a dhamma. So let me write right here so you can see. Originally, we would say, for example, daraba Amrun Zaydan. Amrun Zaydan. Daraba Amrun Zaydan. But if we want to here remove Amr, we want to take Amr out of this sentence for one reason or another reason. Maybe because we're afraid of him. We don't want to say who's the assailant here. Or maybe because he's our buddy and we don't want to snitch on him. Or maybe because we have no idea who is the one who did the striking. Or for any reason, for some reason or another, we don't want to say who did the act. So we're going to take him out. Now, the sentence is daraba Zaydan. It means he hit Zayd. Who's he? I don't want to say who he is. So actually, let me just reconfigure this verb altogether. So I'm going to say duriba. Duriba. So no fatha there. Duriba. But now I can't say duriba Zaydan. Doesn't make any sense. I have to now make Zayd replace Amr. So to do that, I have to give him the sign that Amr had, which is the Dhamma. So now I'm going to say Duriba Zaydun. Now it means Zayd was struck. Who's the striker? I'm not no snitch, I can't tell. Or I don't even know. Or some other reason. وَيُضْرَبُ عَمْرٌ وَيُضْرَبُ عَمْرٌ. Same thing here, just gave you, instead of past tense verb, present and future tense verb. I'm not even going to talk about it. The point, inshallah, is clear for you. There's a chapter for this, it's coming. Now you know what the na'ib fa'il is. Amr in this case is na'ib fa'il. Amr. It means Amr is struck, not was. Amr is struck, present tense, or shall be struck, future tense. Any question? Now I just zoomed back out for you so you can see everything. All right. Let me just look really quick, see how many more we have. We just did 3, right? Here's 1, 2, 3. We have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there's 13 things here that they wanted to give us to prepare us for what we're going to embark on. Unlikely we're going to finish those in the next 10 minutes. So let's see if we can just finish at least one more, the 4th one here. وَالْمُضَافُ إِلَيْهِ. And the mudaf and the mudaf ilayhi. The mudaf and the mudaf ilayhi. That's 2 things. So mudaf means annexed. Annexed basically means added to something. And mudaf ilayhi, how about we call it the annexer? Annexer. Meaning, this is the one that's going to connect to the annexed. So we have 2 words here. These 2 words are going to cooperate with each other and act like one word. Like something you know. Rasulullah. That's 2 words. Rasulullah. Allah's messenger. That's 2 words. Allah's messenger. They are acting together like one word because it means one thing, like one word. Allah's messenger. If you break those 2 apart, then it doesn't give the meaning of what it means when you put them together. Because if you just say Allah, it doesn't mean Allah's messenger. And if you just say messenger, it doesn't mean Allah's messenger. When you put them together and you say Allah's messenger, then it means one thing. So when you say Rasulullah, I'll write it. Rasul and Allah. Rasulullah. So the word Rasul is the annexed. It's the one that's getting the annexing. And the name of God, Allah, in this case, is the annexer. It's the one that's connecting to the first word, fusing or linking, hitching onto the first word so that together they cooperate and act like one word. So the first one is called mudaf. The second one is called mudaf ilayhi. Together, the both of them together are called idafa. Idafa. I'll even write it in English letters for you as a favor. Since you're studying Arabic, though, you should be able to read the Arabic letters. Idafa. Idafa means annexation. Annexation. or basically means possessive case, or it's a possessive construction, or it's a genitive construction. I'll use all these words. I'm going to use here the word, of course, the Arabic word idafa, and I'm going to use the word annexation, and I'm going to use the word genitive construction. Genitive construction. If you find that a complicated word, then if you want it, and I suggest you take it, then just get used to it so that it's not complicated. Genitive construction. You know the word construction. Genitive, what does it mean? It'll come. And also possessive case. All these words we'll use for idafa. So let's read. وَالْمُضَافُ وَالْمُضَافُ إِلَيْهِ. Fourth case here is the mudaf and the mudaf ilayhi. This one right here, mudaf ilayhi, you see two words there, or even three, because this hat is its own word. It's like one word though. Mudaf ilayhi. Al-mudafu ilayhi. Treat that like one word. Al-mudafu ilayhi. That's the name of the annexer. The annexer is called al-mudafu ilayhi. Wal-mudaf wal-mudafu ilayhi. What's that? Kullu ismayni baynahuma nisbatun juz'iyyah. They are every two words that have a partial relation. That's what the Arabic says. Every two words that have a partial relation. So, what does that mean? The simplest words I can use for this, I think, is possessive case. I think that's the simplest words. It's not always possessive, but generally that's, because in English you say, for example, the door of the house. That's possessive case. Or you say the house's door. Sometimes when you translate the idafa into English, you're going to use the word of. So it's going to come out as three words. Idafa is two words. Sometimes when you translate into English, you're going to use three words because you squeeze the word of in there. You say, for example, my mother's friend. Mother's friend. My mother's friend. Or you could say, the friend of my mother. So that's possessive case. It's not always with the meaning of possession though, but I'm just trying to give you easy words for now. Because if I say ring of iron, a ring of iron, or if I say a ring of gold, a ring of gold, ring of gold, this doesn't mean that the gold possesses the ring. It doesn't mean the ring possesses the gold. I could say, I could say khatamu dhahabin. Khatamu dhahabin. That's idafa, but doesn't mean possession. So it's not always possession. It's two words. You link them together, or you hitch them together in a way that they work together like one word. That's what it is. Nahwu, for example, Ghulamu Zayd, Zayd's lad. So if we translate Ghulam as lad, Zayd is a man's name. Zayd's lad, Ghulamu Zayd. So those two are working together like one word. Al-Ghulamu mansubun li Zayd. The Ghulam is attributed to Zayd. The Ghulam is attributed to Zayd. Yeah, that's, I'm glad we're here. See, Nahu is very important to understand a lot of things. Look, now I'm using the word attributed. When do we use this word attribute? Don't we use it when we talk about belief? The attributes of Allah, the attributes of the prophets. Attributed. Didn't Allah say in the Quran, Bayti, my house? Here, the house is attributed to Allah. Doesn't mean the house is his attribute. That's an idafa there. Prophet Salih said, Naqat Allah, Allah's camel. Doesn't mean the camel is an attribute of Allah, but the camel was attributed to Allah. That's why it's important to learn grammar. The Prophet said, 7 types of people will be under Zilluhu, his shade, God's shade or God's shadow. Doesn't mean the shadow is an attribute of Allah, but the shadow was attributed to God. So this is idafa. So here, Al-Ghulamu mansubun li Zayd. The Ghulam, the lad, has been attributed to Zayd. فَسُمِّيَ الْأَوَّلُ مُضَافًا. So the first one is called mudaf, the annexed. وَالثَّانِي مُضَافًا إِلَيْهِ. And the second one is called mudaf إِلَيْهِ. وَالْمُضَافُ والمضاف يكون إعرابه بحسب العوامل التي قبله. Now as for the mudaf, how should it be? Should it be nominative, accusative, genitive? I'm using the English words here to keep it easy for you. Should it be marfu' or mansub or majroor? That depends on whatever is in front of it or whatever is affecting it. Like this example here, Rasulullahi here. Depending on what's in front of it, you could say Rasulullahi, or you could say Rasulallahi, or you could say Rasulillahi. Depends on whatever's affecting it. وَالْمُضَافُ إِلَيْهِ لَا يَكُونُ إِلَّا مَجْرُورًا. But the mudaf ilayhi, the second one, the annexer, would not be but genitive, will only be genitive. So it has kasra here at the end, yani, or any sign of jar, sign of genitive case. Wallahu alam. So we'll stop there. We didn't finish our introduction. And at this rate, probably this introduction is going to take yani, at least one more session, maybe 2, and then we'll finally start with the book itself. So now you got a taste of what we're about to get into. I hope you're dedicated and interested. It will benefit you a lot, inshallah ta'ala. Do you have any question I can answer for you?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
That very last part, you were talking about the mudaf depends on what's affecting it, and then you gave the example of Rasulullah, and then you said you could have a dhamma, fatha, or kasra. I didn't understand what you meant with that last part.
Okay, here. So let's take the same example. Rasul, and the second word is Allah. Okay. Now, as for the second word, it's always going to be in a state of jar, genitive case, for being the mudaf ilayhi. But as for the first word, it depends on whatever's affecting it. So let's say Rasul is the doer. So had you said, Qala, He said. So that means if it's doer, it's in a state of rafa. So you'd say Qala Rasulullahi for dhamma, because he's doer of the verb. Qala Rasulullahi. Rasulu. So Qala Rasulu. Or what if you said Sami'tu? Sami'tu. I heard. I heard. So then means he's receiver. If he's receiver, he's going to be mansoob, so needs fatha. So he'd say, Sami'tu Rasulallahi. Because he's receiver now. I heard the messenger of Allah. Qala Rasulullahi. The messenger of Allah said, Sami'tu Rasulallahi. I heard the messenger of Allah. Or if you said, for example, Marartu B. Marartu B, this bat would actually connect to the ra. Here, it would connect to the ra. Marartu B, I passed by. By, so that's going to make it majroor. Marartu bi Rasulillahi. So it depends on whatever's affecting it. Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nahu, by the way, is very prestigious. A lot of people, they find it not easy for them and they give up on it. But if you learn Nahu, you will find something sweet, inshallah. It's very, very, very special knowledge. And the students of knowledge, especially those who get the hang of Nahu, it raises their chin up without arrogance. Barakallahu feekum wa jazakumullahu khayran. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.